Hi, I'm Katie Couric. Welcome to Eye to Eye. Can anyone grow up to be president? An exhibit at the National Archives in Washington, D.C. explores the early lives of U.S. presidents and shows they all had one thing in common. Bill Plante took a tour.
I noticed it's pretty impressive what they were reading.
Yes.
They weren't classic comics.
No, and all of our presidents were very diligent readers.
That, I think, is one of the interesting common threads, just that I pick up on.
Absolutely. The books that they were real students of history. Almost every one of them enjoyed biography, history, economics. It's rare you find a president who's much in the way of a reader of frothy novels or anything that's just pure entertainment. I mean, they enjoyed history and made reference to it. I think of John F. Kennedy's, as an adult, his reference to Barbara Tuchman's work, but Mr. Hoover, on all of those journeys across the ocean, always was traveling with a crate full of books to educate himself. I think self-education, too, is a big part of what our presidents believed in. They never stopped learning.
Well, here we are in the elementary school part of this exhibit, and we look at report cards. This is one from Harry Truman in second grade, who did well, except that he had a little trouble spelling, I think.
That's right. That's right. They don't grade you on spelling in the White House these days, but it's hard to resist the temptation to slide into one of those seats and raise our hands. What's also interesting is notice the inkwell. I mean, I think today most kids would assume that that's the port for your cables, for your USB port from your laptop. Sure. So technology has changed tremendously. But the values that we cherish, I think the values that people see or look for today in our presidential candidates are many of the same cherished values that our presidents in the 20th century learned during those years in school. And that's what this exhibit is all about, and that's why it's so important. What is it that a young person today needs if they're going to become a leader of the greatest nation on earth?
Do you really think it makes, that it tells us something that so many of our presidents in the 20th century came from small towns?
I personally think that small towns, it's hard to overlook the fact that 14 out of 17 men who served in the White House in the 20th century came from small towns like Plymouth Notch or West Branch or Abilene. 14 out of 17. That's really something in a century that was becoming increasingly urban. So it's not to say that places like Boston and New York and Chicago didn't produce great leaders. They did. But there's something about small-town values that either by chance or by design have led these young men to the Oval Office.
So let's talk about what we can learn from the writings that they did as students, as young men.
I think that when you look at these essays that they wrote, they were looking back on the past. They were looking for lessons that they could apply in their own life. They implicitly seemed to understand that they wanted to make a difference in life. They weren't always quite sure what it was going to be, whether it was going to take a path in politics or something else. And it is ambition. We like to see ambition. In some cases it seemed to be raw, naked ambition. In other cases they became humanitarians or others types of roles. And I think that that's what they expressed in the writings that they left as students.